You're listening to the Wrestle Havoc Podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. We talk all that goes on in the realm of WWE and AEW every week. And now, here's your host, the one that will give you a reality check on pro wrestling, Flamin' Rick, Ricky DeReyes. This is the Wrestle Havoc Podcast.
What's up, everybody? It is Flamin' Rick, Ricky DeReyes, right here on the Wrestle Havoc Podcast, here to review Friday Night SmackDown from April 21st, 2023. What are my overall thoughts on this SmackDown show that we had 2 days ago? Honestly, the show was really a nothing show, to be quite honest with you. There was nothing really special that happened on this show. In my opinion, I don't even think there was any, if you want to say, storyline progression. Honestly, this just didn't feel like the right show for me, in my opinion. I wasn't really as invested as I usually am for most of these SmackDown shows, to say the least. But we had a lot of matches on this show, a lot of rematches on this show. We also have the Backlash card. One of the matches on the Backlash card is going to be Seth Rollins versus Omos. Honestly, I have absolutely no idea why we are getting that match. That clearly sounds like a Vince McMahon match to me, not a Triple H match. But we're going to be talking about more of that as we head on to episode 14 of the Wrestle Havoc Podcast, which will be airing tomorrow right here on YouTube. But before I get on with all this craziness regarding Friday Night SmackDown, make sure to like and subscribe to the Wrestle Havoc Podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. And, as the frickin' referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, the Wrestle Havoc Podcast is also available on audio platforms. It is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and Google Podcasts. So if you guys want to listen to the Wrestle Havoc Podcast in audio format, it is available on all of those platforms. Also, if you guys missed it, the AEW Dynamite review is up on the channel. We talk about MJF wanting to do a Pillars tournament with the rest of the AEW Pillars as we head towards Double or Nothing. Now, it looks like from what it seems, MJF clearly wants a one-on-one match, but you, the viewer, already knows that we're going to be getting a four-way at Double or Nothing. So why we're doing this, I assume it's because of the build for the match, but that is just me. But we have a lot of other things to talk about. We talk about the disastrous scene of the TNT Championship, plus a lot more right here on the Dynamite review. So if you guys haven't checked out the AEW Dynamite review, the link will be in the description below. All right, let's get on with Friday Night SmackDown. Again, as I've stated earlier, I thought the show was kind of boring in my opinion. Nothing really special happened to the show in my opinion. We didn't really get a lot of build as we head towards Backlash next weekend. And to be quite honest with you, I'm not really that excited for the Backlash pay-per-view. I'm being 100% honest with you guys. Backlash, I'm just not really excited about as I would usually be for any WWE pay-per-view, or I should say maybe any of the recent WWE pay-per-views, because let's be honest, when Triple H was running things in the WWE pay-per-views were actually pretty fucking fire. But I'm going to be honest, man, I'm not really that excited when it comes to Backlash, and the card really shows it. I feel like the card is a little ass, in my opinion, especially after that match was announced between Seth Rollins and Omos. Like, that match clearly sounds like a Vince McMahon match to me. I'll talk more about that on episode 14 of the podcast. But we're going to be talking about SmackDown. The show kicks off with Finn Balor and Damian Priest of the Judgment Day taking on Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar from the LWO, the Latino World Order. Overall thoughts on this match. From hearing the names of this match, you already know what these men are capable of. So really, you don't really have to know how this match was going to play out. I mean, of course, you know this match was going to be a fucking banger, considering all the participants involved in this match. But again, I mean, it's another match involving the LWO and Judgment Day. We really need something different. You know, how many times have we had matches in which we had LWO members take on the Judgment Day? I mean, it's been how many weeks now? I mean, I may be wrong, but, like, let's be honest, man. Like, it's kind of getting a little bit stale. But I will say this. I believe the second best story right now, and it's really leading towards my all-time favorite story right now in the WWE, is this whole Dominic Mysterio, Rey Mysterio, LWO Judgment Day storyline. I think the way that they have been building to WrestleMania when it came to Rey Mysterio versus Dominic, fantastic stuff in my opinion. Just fantastic stuff. And, of course, we have a match, I believe, happening at the pay-per-view. I believe one of those matches is going to be Zelina Vega taking on Rhea Ripley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. But nonetheless, I mean, this is a match you would expect would be good. But, again, we want something different, in my opinion. But nonetheless, though, the match was not bad. Balor and Rey Mysterio start. Rey immediately goes for the head scissors. We then get a kick by Balor, followed by a sunset flip. After that, Rey counters with the drop kick. We get a springboard moonsault by Rey, countered by Balor, getting the knees up. After that, Priest makes the tag. Then he boots Rey, and then he proceeds to work on Rey Mysterio, but Rey tries to fight back. He then sends Rey into the corner, but then we get a back elbow by Priest, followed by a double team by Balor and Priest. Balor is the legal man. Then Balor goes for the backbreaker. We then get a leg drop by Priest, but then we get a cover by Priest and a near fall. Balor tags in. We get a bunch of right elbows by Balor, but then we get a side headlock. After that, Rey tries to tag in Santos Escobar, but then Balor runs into a boot by Rey. We then get a back elbow by Rey, but then Rey is up on the shoulders of Balor, but then Rey manages to take him down. After that, Rey tags in Santos Escobar, but then Santos goes for the shoulder tackle. After that, he takes out Damian Priest, but then we get a backbreaker on Balor. Then we get a clothesline in the corner, but then Priest comes in and gets caught by Santos Escobar, but then Rey goes for a drop kick. After that, Balor gets knocked onto the outside, but then we get a double team by Rey and Santos with a senton by Rey. After that, Santos then sends Rey for the sliding splash, but then he ends up missing that. Santos then proceeds to take out Damian Priest, and then he tries to jump over the top rope, but then Balor comes in and hits a furious-ass clothesline. Once we're back from commercial break, Priest and Santos exchange shots. We get a bunch of overhand chops by Santos Escobar, followed by a chop by himself. After that, he runs into a pump kick by Damian Priest. Then Damian Priest goes for the cover, and we get a near fall. After that, we get a side headlock by Priest, but then we get a bunch of back elbows by Santos Escobar. Priest then goes for the kick, but then he follows up with a back elbow. Priest then runs into a drop kick by Santos Escobar. At this point, the hot tag is made. Then we get the head scissors by Rey, but then Rey gets taken down onto the apron. He then goes to the top, and then he hits the senton. Then we get the springboard crossbody, but then we get a cover by Rey Mysterio on Balor and a near fall. He then tries to go for the enziguri, but then he takes Balor to the middle rope. He tries to go for the 619, but then Damian Priest makes the blind tag. After he makes the blind tag, Priest gets taken to the outside, but then Balor gets taken to the middle rope. Rey finally manages to hit the 619 after that. Then Santos goes for the splash, but then Damian Priest sends Rey to the ring post. Santos then tries to go for the cover, but Priest is the legal man and hits the South of Heaven chokeslam. After that, we get a cover by Damian Priest, and the Judgment Day get the win. After that, he gets the microphone, and he says in Spanish, he has a message for my friend. In Spanish, he basically stated this: Tengo un mensaje para mi amigo. He's talking about Bad Bunny, of course. This Monday, live from Chicago, it's going to be the return of Bad Bunny. And he really hopes the visit goes differently than it went last time for him. So, what does that mean? I mean, it's pretty much safe to say if Bad Bunny's going to be the host of this pay-per-view next weekend, you know damn well that he's going to be wrestling at the end of the day. You just clearly know he's going to be wrestling. So it looks like they're going to be setting up an angle when it comes to Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. I assume it's going to be a multi-man match. I honestly do not think it's going to be a one-on-one match, but I may be totally wrong. But overall thoughts on this match, I thought this match was pretty good. But again, I mean, how many times we've seen Judgment Day members take on members of Legado del Fantasma / the LWO? I mean, I don't want to say it's getting too repetitive because I'm actually enjoying this feud. But again, man, you know, we can't just have singles matches between these guys constantly all the time. After that, we got Adam Pearce backstage with Zelina Vega. She talks about how next week is going to be the WWE draft, and she can't control what happens in the draft, but she can control what she does now. And she asks Adam Pearce to challenge Rhea Ripley for the SmackDown Women's Championship at the Backlash pay-per-view. She talks about how she is the only Puerto Rican on the roster she wants to represent, and she has something to prove. She is ready, and Adam Pearce will talk to upper management to see where we go. And now we actually know that match is actually going to be official. It's going to be Zelina Vega versus Rhea Ripley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Barely any build at all. I mean, technically there is somewhat of a build there because, I mean, Judgment Day and the LWO are feuding, and Zelina Vega is a part of the LWO. But also, they have been interacting in a couple of the matches for the past couple of weeks. You would have Zelina Vega go hitting fucking Hurricane Rana's on the outside. So, technically, this would make sense for this match. But, I mean, honestly, you already know who's going to win anyway. But, it's going to give something for Zelina Vega to do anyway. So, the match is not going to be bad. I'm just, not really that excited for this match, to be quite honest with you. We got a very good, well-produced video package of Shinsuke Nakamura. And after that, Karrion Kross is with Scarlett in a backstage segment, and this was actually a very well-produced backstage segment as well. He talks about identity, and it talks about how it takes a lifetime to find that. Another 1,000 lives to know if it's even yours. And in 3 seconds, it could be completely destroyed, says Kross. Mr. Nakamura, you see all these cards? He's never heard of everybody in the days of his life. It's the cards. How do we know who we really are if you take something away? And he talks about all the people he laid out. Drew McIntyre, Madcap Moss, Rey Mysterio, and now Shinsuke Nakamura. We are going to take away your honor, TikTok. So they're clearly setting up a feud between Shinsuke Nakamura and Karrion Kross. Very well-produced video package, in my opinion. A lot of people are saying Karrion Kross's return has been a failure. I could honestly see that, but again, you got to really give it time. I genuinely am a big fan of Karrion Kross, and I think they're going to do well by him. Maybe when the draft happens, maybe if he heads towards Raw, maybe that could change things for him. But, as of right now, it's not really looking good for him, but give it time. I think maybe in a year. Give it a year. I think Karrion Kross could definitely be a major player in the main event scene. I genuinely believe that. And I very well enjoyed his feud with Drew McIntyre. All of his other feuds, there was really nothing that Karrion Kross was doing, especially as we headed towards WrestleMania. Really, Karrion Kross wasn't doing anything. But now, as he's entering this feud with Shinsuke Nakamura, there's definitely some hope for Karrion Kross. And I think there's going to be a major change regarding his creative direction. We then get Ricochet and Braun Strowman taking on the Viking Raiders, another random match that's happening on this show. This match wasn't bad. It really wasn't. But again, it's another random match. They did, have a segment in which the Viking Raiders did attack Ricochet and Braun Strowman last week. But again, who honestly gives a shit? I'm going to be honest. I'm not really too keen on the Viking Raiders. I'm just not, especially right now. Ricochet and Braun Strowman, they work well together. They really do. And, do I see them ever winning the tag team championships? No. But, this wasn't a bad match whatsoever. But there were some aspects of the match in which people clearly do not take notice of, because I love how these same people would constantly talk shit and point out on AEW botches, but they clearly don't talk about that spot where Braun Strowman, by accident, missed Ricochet, which was hilarious to me. Nobody even talks about that. But nonetheless, this match wasn't bad. Ricochet and Ivar start. We get repeated body shots by Ivar. We get repeated back elbows by Ivar into the corner. Strowman then fights back with repeated right hands, but then Ivar gets sent into the corner. Then Strowman goes for the right hand, but then we get a shot to the back of the neck of Ivar. Both no-sell each other's shoulder tackles. After that, we get a shoulder tackle taken down Ivar. We get repeated rights by Ivar. After that, we get a takedown by Strowman. After that, Eric tags in. Both of the Viking Raiders proceed to take out Braun Strowman. After that, Eric makes the tag. After that, Strowman powers out. He throws Ricochet but misses, which is a hilarious botch. It's funny how, man, everybody that points out AEW botches, nobody even talks about that. This is the same guy that constantly would talk down about the modern style of wrestling, which is hilarious. It's so funny how he would talk shit, and then they paired him up with Ricochet. We get a springboard kick by Ricochet, taking the Raiders to the outside. Ricochet then goes for the cartwheel somersault. After that, once we're back from break, Eric is in control over Ricochet, but then we get repeated body shots by Ricochet. Eric then picks him up, and then Ricochet escapes. Strowman then tags in, but then we get a shoulder tackle by Strowman, followed by a boot. He then sends Eric into the corner. Strowman then goes for a running shotgun dropkick, but then Strowman runs through the Raiders into the corner. After that, Valhalla, a.k.a. Sarah Logan, interferes. We get a kick by Eric when Ivar interferes. After that, Ivar makes the tag. We get a knee by Eric, but then Ivar goes to the top. Ivar manages to hit the splash. After that, we get a cover and a near fall. Eric then tags in, but then the Raiders take Strowman up, but then Strowman tries to fight back. Then we get a double shoulder tackle by Strowman. After that, Ricochet tags in. We get a springboard by Ricochet landing on his feet, but then we get a springboard elbow on Eric. After that, Ivar takes him out. Then we get a knee by Ricochet followed by a kick. After that, Strowman makes the tag. We get a double team on Ivar by both Ricochet and Braun Strowman. Strowman then boots Eric, but then Ricochet goes to the top onto the shoulders of Strowman. And then Ricochet goes for the Swanton Bomb off the shoulders of Braun Strowman. And we get a cover, and both babyfaces get the win. Not a bad match whatsoever, but again, this is basically a nothing match. Literally nobody cares. I'm just not really that invested. I mean, really, the majority of this whole show, either it's rematches or it's just stuff that you already saw. Wasn't really as invested. I mean, in most weeks, I'm invested in what I'm given on SmackDown, but to be quite honest with you, this week is one of those weeks. After that, we get Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez versus Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green. Again, this match is for the women's tag team titles. You guys already know my place and where I stand when it comes to the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. I think those titles are useless. I said this in my Dynamite review, man. The Women's Tag Team Championships are like, or I should say the TNT Championship is literally on par with the Women's Tag Team Championships. What do both of those championships have in common? They mean absolutely nothing. Just like the Women's Tag Team Championships and the TNT Championships, they just don't mean nothing at all. They really don't. The women's tag team scene, I mean, let's be honest, there is no women's tag team scene on WWE television right now, at least on Raw and SmackDown now. On NXT, I believe they do have real women's tag teams, but I'm going to be honest, I do not watch NXT. But again, I mean, the women's tag team championships have no direction whatsoever, and that is the biggest problem. At the end of the day, just retire those damn titles. We need, I would listen to a couple of podcasters, and they would even make, instead of having women's tag team championships, let's have a women's mid-card championship. I mean, AEW has one in the TBS championship, but I would actually trust WWE to actually book a women's mid-card championship much better than what AEW is doing with the TBS championship. That's just my opinion, because I feel like they have no plan for Jade Cargill whatsoever on the AEW, but that's just my opinion. I just don't like the direction that Jade Cargill is going. But the heels cut a promo before their match. They talk about how they're going to basically repeat what they did on Raw. Of course, Chelsea Green is talking about splashing water on the face of Liv Morgan. The match starts. We then get a dropkick by Morgan on Green in the corner. Then Sonya Deville makes the tag. We get a roll-up by Liv, and then we get a near fall. We then get a kick by Morgan, but then Raquel tags in. We get a double team by both babyfaces, but then Raquel has Sonya up. Then after that, we get a shoulder tackle by Raquel, but then she picks her up again, but then Sonya escapes and hits a chop block. After that, Chelsea Green tags in. She gets caught by Raquel, but then we get the waistlock takedown by Raquel. Morgan then tags in. We get a kick by Green, and then she tries to go for the suicide dive, but then gets caught by Raquel after that. Sonya then drives her knee. After that, Liv takes both heels to the outside, but then Liv gets Green back into the ring. After that, we get a cover and a near fall. Liv is up, but then Sonya interferes. Chelsea then hits the Russian leg sweep. After that, we get a cover and a near fall, getting caught having her foot on the ropes. After that, we get a double suplex attempt by both heels, but then Sonya distracts the referee. Then Chelsea Green attacks Liv Morgan. We then get a cover by Sonya and a near fall. Both pick up Liv Morgan, but then Morgan counters with the double neck breaker. After that, Raquel tags in. She fights off both of the heels. After that, we get a clothesline by Raquel on Chelsea Green. She picks her up and then hits the fall-away slam. Then she goes for the springboard corkscrew elbow. After that, Raquel tags Sonya on the top. Or I should say she takes Sonya to the top. She doesn't tag her because Sonya is not her partner. That's a typo on my end. Liv makes the tag, but then Raquel goes for the superplex. After that, Liv goes off the second rope, hits a shotgun dropkick. Then she goes for the backstabber on Chelsea Green. Then Sonya follows up with a kick. Then after that, she goes for a boot on Sonya, that being Raquel. Raquel then gets taken to the outside, but then Liv pours water to Chelsea Green, and we get a cover by Liv with the help of Raquel Rodriguez, and both babyfaces retain their women's tag team championships. What can I say? I mean, again, literally the basis of any women's tag team is like, oh my God, we're best friends. Let's smile together. That's the whole point of that's basically WWE's view of a women's tag team. Literally, there is no real tag teams in the women's division. So why do you expect me to care about women's tag team championships? I mean, nothing wrong with makeshift tag teams, but if the basis of your whole division is just flat out makeshift tag teams, then should you really call it a division? No, you shouldn't. Matt Riddle, he's backstage in a backstage interview. talks about his match that he's going to have with Solo Sikoa, a match that he had last week on SmackDown, but he's going to have it again, and it's going to be a no DQ match. Talks about why risk it all with Solo tonight. Why not? He knows Sammy and Kevin aren't here in the building, and they are getting ready for their biggest matches of their careers. And tonight, Solo is going to be the one buried in a table. We then get Gunther versus Xavier Woods for the Intercontinental Championship. Again, you could honestly say this is a random match, but I may actually be honest. Gunther versus Xavier Woods was probably the best thing on this SmackDown show, in my opinion. I'm being honest. This was definitely the best thing on the show because of the fact, and every time when you guys watch the SmackDown reviews, you guys know my stance on this. I absolutely love the way WWE is booking Gunther. More importantly, I love the way how they're treating the Intercontinental Championship. The IC title feels drastically more important than it did a year ago. Because a year ago, it didn't mean jack shit. I could remember, I believe it was WrestleMania of last year. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe they were planning on doing Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville for the Intercontinental Championship. I believe that was the case, but then Sami Zayn lost his title. I believe he was the IC champion at the time. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you look at that compared to what we had at WrestleMania this year, with that amazing three-way match between Gunther, Drew McIntyre, and Sheamus, the Intercontinental Championship has gone a long way. If you want to turn towards AEW and look at the direction of the TNT Championship, they should really take notes on what they're doing with Gunther. Actually, you should scratch that. Take that back because they're already doing it with the International Championship. In AEW, their real mid-card championship nowadays is their International Championship. That title is 10 times more important than the TNT Championship. But I will say this. The best mid-card championship right now and throughout both WWE and AEW is definitely the Intercontinental Championship. 100%. Because, again, not only because of the man who's holding it, but also the direction and the booking of everything. I'm absolutely enjoying what they're doing with Gunther, and Gunther has been booked like a freaking killer. But this match with Xavier Woods was fantastic. Both lock up. Gunther misses a chop in the corner. We then get a side headlock takeover by Gunther. Then we get a shot to the back of Gunther, followed by a side headlock by Woods. Both exchange elbows. We then get a right hand by Gunther, but then we get a rolling elbow countered by Gunther into a chop. Once we're back from commercial break, Gunther is in control over Xavier Woods. After that, Woods tries to fight back, but then we get a chop by Woods, followed by an overhand chop by Gunther. Then he stomps onto the head of Woods, and then he hits a right hand on Woods on Gunther. And then he goes for the overhand chop again, taking Woods down to the mat. We get a cover by Gunther and a near fall. Then Gunther goes for a chop on Woods, but then we get a kick to the back of Woods. Woods then fights back on Gunther, but then Gunther goes for the double underhook suplex. After that, we get a cover and a near fall. Then Woods goes for the slap, but then we get a couple of right hands and a couple of chops by Xavier Woods. We then get repeated kicks onto the knee of Gunther in the corner. Gunther then fights back, but then we get the overhand chop by Gunther. Woods takes down Gunther, but then Woods goes for the dropkick through the ropes on Gunther, but then Woods goes for the somersault onto the outside. He then goes to the top, but then we get a chop by Gunther, and then we get a kick by Woods taking down Gunther, I should say. And then Woods off the top goes for, and this spot actually was probably my favorite spot of the whole match. Woods goes to the top and hits a beautiful, and he hit this shit in midair. He hit a goddamn leg drop. And I mean a legit high leg drop off the top rope on Gunther. I mean, I know that wrestlers love using leg drops, but a leg drop from that far high looks fucking painful. Not only for Gunther, I mean, because he's only getting the leg across his head, or I should say his chest or throat. But Woods, man, you're falling on your ass when you're doing the leg drop. Holy shit, that must have hurt real bad for Xavier Woods. That was a beautiful leg drop. We get a cover by Woods into near fall. Gunther then applies the sleeper hold on Woods. And then he grabs Woods and hits the powerbomb, but then Woods counters. He drops Gunther face first, and then he goes for the crucifix pin, but then we get a near fall. Woods then manages to hit the enziguri, but then we get a roll up by Woods, but then Gunther catches Woods and applies the sleeper hold once again. And what happens? While he has that sleeper hold applied, he manages to just ragdoll the shit out of Xavier Woods. Woods passes out, and Gunther retains the Intercontinental Championship. Overall thoughts on this match. This match was fan-fucking-tastic. Xavier looked really good. And honestly, there were some portions of the match where I really thought, holy shit, he's actually going to get the win. But, I mean, let's be honest, Xavier Woods is not going to beat Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. I'm still at the stance that Sheamus should beat Gunther for the Intercontinental title. That's just me because I'm a big fan of what Sheamus is doing right now with the Brawling Brutes. If you were to say a year ago that Sheamus is one of my favorite things about WWE television, I'd look at you and be like, what the fuck are you talking about? But ever since the match that he had, and I talked about this previously multiple times on many different WWE pay-per-view reviews and many different SmackDown reviews as well, that ever since the match that Sheamus had at Clash of the Castle against Gunther, I mean, Jesus Christ, fucking Sheamus has had a career resurgence ever since that amazing match he had with Gunther back in September at Clash. So, I mean, if there's any guy to take that Intercontinental title away from Gunther, it's definitely Sheamus. I thought it was going to actually happen at WrestleMania, but they're really going full-fledged, and they're going to move that shit forward down. So maybe at a SummerSlam we could see the rematch once again, because they did have I believe they only had 2 one-on-one matches, and they did interact multiple times in like tag team matches and multi-man matches, as well as of course the triple threat match that they did have at WrestleMania. But I believe they haven't had a third rubber match. So my best bet is that they're going to build towards SummerSlam, and we're going to get the rubber match between Sheamus and Gunther, in which Sheamus would dethrone Gunther for the Intercontinental title, which then leads to Gunther to go straight for the main event scene, because I genuinely believe right now Roman Reigns is going to drop those titles. It's a matter of when, not if, in my opinion. And a lot of people are talking about Cody Rhodes basically taking the belts off of Roman at SummerSlam. Now, I talked about on my WrestleMania review that, they should have had if they had a chance, they had a chance at WrestleMania. But I'm going to give it a chance. If it ends up paying off for Cody, then I will come on this very show and say that I was wrong, but today is not that day. Those were my exact words. But I talked about this with Gunther as well. When Roman drops those titles, whoever beats him, my best bet is going to be Cody Rhodes. The guy to beat Cody Rhodes is 100% Gunther. Mark my words, by the end of this year, Gunther is going to be a fucking world champion. Period. Because there's no fucking way you look at a guy like Gunther and say he's not world championship material. Gunther is 100% world championship material, period. The way that they have booking him has been fantastically well done. Just well done on WWE's part. In our final segment before our main event, we get the Usos, the former undisputed tag team champions. Ohio, the Bloodline is now in your city. They've been asking all of us since WrestleMania. Usos, dude, how you guys feel been since your loss at WrestleMania, dude? We don't know. Are you guys sad, dude? We don't know. Are you mad, dude? We don't know. What are you planning to do, dude? They will complete the mission. They're coming straight at you. And what's next for the Usos? A big 6-man happening at Backlash. But more importantly, next week, a big rematch happening. But it's not just any kind of rematch. It's that WrestleMania main event kind of rematch. It's that type of rematch that you're going to tell your mom that, hey, the Usos are going to be wrestling on TV. The 9-time tag team champions coming soon rematch. Dedicate that victory to your tribal chief Roman Reigns kind of rematch. Next week, 9 times it is. The gold is coming back to the Bloodline. They will get bodied, just like Matt Riddle. He will get bodied by the street champion, the enforcer of the Bloodline, Solo Sikoa. That was a fucking badass introduction by the Usos, man. I've talked about this before, man. What have they not done good? Like, they have done everything perfectly with Solo Sikoa. By his fucking entrance, man. That entrance, that shot in that, darkness with the green light when Solo Sikoa comes out. Holy shit. They are booking this man like $1 million. We get Matt Riddle versus Solo Sikoa. Now, this is a no DQ match. But the thing is, we saw this match last week. So, honestly, why am I supposed to care? But it was not a bad match whatsoever. Riddle attacks him from behind. Solo Sikoa then goes for the lariat. Jesus Christ, these allergies are kicking my ass. They really are. We get a high elbow by Solo Sikoa. And then after that, Riddle he catches Solo with the triangle attempt. Then we get repeated rights by Riddle. Solo then goes for the powerbomb, but then we get a cover by Solo and a near fall. Solo then takes out a kendo stick and 2 steel chairs. He stomps on the foot of Riddle, and then he hits him with the kendo stick. After that, Riddle goes for the overhead kick. Riddle then gets taken to the outside, but then Riddle hits Solo with the kendo stick of his own repeatedly. On the outside, Riddle takes out a table, but then the crowd goes apeshit after that. But then Solo takes it back inside. He picks up Riddle, but then Riddle fights back with repeated elbows. Then after that, on the apron, we get a running knee by Riddle, and then he sends Solo to the steel steps. After that, Riddle goes for the Broton. Once we're back from commercial break, both men continue to fight it out, but then Solo goes for the Uranagi on the chair attempt, but then Riddle escapes and then gets caught into a Samoan drop by Solo Sikoa. After that, we get a cover by Solo and a near fall. Solo Sikoa then goes for repeated rights, but then he places the chair onto the neck of Riddle, and then he runs into a chair thrown at him. Basically, Riddle throws the chair Sabu style on Solo Sikoa. And then he gets sent through the chair into the other corner, but then we get repeated shots with the kendo stick on Solo Sikoa. And then he drives the chair into the midsection and then hits him in the back. He throws it to Solo and then hits a knee. After that, we get a cover by Riddle and a near fall. Then Solo goes for the right hand, but then he gets caught into an exploder suplex through the chairs by Riddle. And then Riddle throws a pile of chairs on Solo Sikoa. Riddle then goes to the top, but then Solo rows out. After that, Riddle on the apron goes for the running knee, but then he gets caught. Solo then sends Riddle across the announce table. He tries to bury Riddle, and Riddle uses his legs to counter it. But then after that, Solo goes for the headbutt, but then we get a knee by Riddle on Solo. Solo then has Solo on the announce table, and he basically buries Solo just like Solo did to him last week on the show. So he buries Riddle, and what happens is Riddle takes... basically what happens is the Usos try to come in and attack Riddle, but then they try to hit the 1D, but then Riddle takes both of them to the outside. Riddle then goes for a springboard floating bro onto the outside, but then Riddle comes back into the ring, but then Solo Sikoa comes back and places the announce table back in place. And then Riddle gets caught and then gets hit with the Uranagi by Solo on the apron. After that, Solo's in the ring. He tries to go for the Samoan spike, but he misses. After that, we get a knee by Riddle, but then Riddle runs into a lariat, or the spike, whatever you want to call it, by Solo Sikoa. And then we get a cover, and Solo Sikoa wins the match. I believe, it was either a lariat or a spike. Like, Michael Cole called it a spike, but if you look at the spot, that shit clearly looked like a lariat, in my opinion. But we get a cover, and Solo Sikoa gets the win. After the match, the Usos set up the table. They hit the 1D, and after that, the Bloodline stands tall in the center of the ring as Solo Sikoa gets the win over Matt Riddle. Overall thoughts on this match. This was not a bad match whatsoever. I mean, we did watch this match last week, so really, if you think about it, what the fuck was the point of this match? But again, this was not a bad match at all. I thoroughly enjoyed this match for what it was. But again, what was really the storyline progression? Now, these two men were feuding, and if you really think about the storyline aspect of it, Solo Sikoa in kayfabe was the one that did take out Matt Riddle, so it makes total sense for these guys to feud. But again, what is going to be their blow-off? Is it going to be at Backlash? I don't think so, because I believe they're going to be... I believe Matt Riddle... Wait, no. Take that back. They're going to be doing a six-man. I completely forgot. There's going to be a six-man at Backlash. Never mind. But again, I mean, could that be the blow-off? We do not know. But again, I always talked about this. The larger story is not really with Matt Riddle at all. It's with Jey Uso. And we really didn't get a lot of storyline progression as far as Jey Uso is concerned on this show. So that was really the only disappointing thing about this whole thing. But overall thoughts on this SmackDown show. This was really a nothing show, to be quite honest with you. Nothing really important happened on this show, to be quite honest with you. Nothing really special. But again, I mean, there was really not any storyline progression, in my opinion. Not as much as you would normally see. Like, if you think about, like, the build up to the Sami Zayn whacking at the Royal Rumble, like, there was a lot of storyline progression on that aspect. But on this show, we didn't really get a lot of that, in my opinion. And it was really a nothing show. We had a lot of matches that just nobody gave a shit about, except for Gunther versus Xavier Woods. I actually thought that match was fire. The tag team match with the LWO and Judgment Day. I mean, we've seen matches like that regarding both of those factions anyway, so really, what was the point? But again, it was just a random episode of SmackDown that nothing really special happened on the show. But yeah, that was my SmackDown review from April 21st, 2023. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications, and be on the lookout for more videos right here on the Wrestle Havoc podcast, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the freaking referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. And quick reminder, the AW Dynamite review is up on the channel. The link will be in the description below. Plus, episode 14 of the Wrestle Havoc podcast will be up tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that video as well. But as always, it is Flamin' Ricky DeRays from the Wrestle Havoc podcast, signing out.